In this session, I will showcase how to use more of PowerPoint's built-in Excel functionality by working with different types of charts. We will create three key chart types: a pie chart, a line chart, and a bar chart. Our goal is to replicate the charts seen on slides 2, 3, and 4. While they might not seem too impressive at first glance, in the next session, we will bring them to life by adding animations to each data set. We'll also introduce a toggle button, allowing us to summon the data at will for a more interactive presentation. Let's get started by creating the first chart. Head to the Insert tab, click on Charts, and select Pie Chart, then choose Donut. This should feel familiar from a previous module. Once the chart is inserted, an Excel datasheet will appear. Since we only need two values to simulate a percentage out of 100, delete the last two rows. The first value represents the portion of the 100% that will not be visible, while the second value represents the portion that will be displayed. Set the first value to 7 and the second value to 93. You can enter full numbers, decimals, or even format the values as percentages, depending on how you prefer to work with the data. Close the Excel datasheet and proceed to clean up the chart. Delete the header and data labels by selecting them and pressing the Delete key. Next, click on the pie chart, then right-click and choose Format Data Series. In the Series Options panel, adjust the donut hole size to 89% to refine the appearance of the chart. Then click on the smaller section of the pie chart. Set its fill to no fill and its outline to no outline to make it invisible. Next, select the larger section of the pie chart and remove its outline by setting Outline to no outline. Now that we have the first chart ready, we need to duplicate it 3 times. But let's start by copying and pasting the chart once to create the second version. Resize the duplicated chart and center it within the larger circle to align them properly. Since the inner chart might not perfectly match the size of the first one, we need to adjust the donut hole size. Right-click the inner chart, select Format Data Series, and under Series Options, set the donut hole size to 86%. Now, let's edit the data for the second donut chart we just created. It's as easy as right-clicking the chart again and select Edit Data to open the embedded Excel sheet. You can set the values to whatever you prefer, as long as they add up to 100. For this example, I'll set mine to 15 and 85 to represent a different percentage. Once updated, close the Excel sheet and the chart will automatically reflect the new values. Copy and paste the next donut chart, resize it, and move it so that it aligns neatly within the previous layers. Right-click on it, go to Format Data Series, and set the donut hole size to 80%. Then, right-click again, select Edit Data, and set the values to 6 and 94. Copy and paste the final donut chart, resize it, and position it correctly within the previous layers. Right-click on it, go to Format Data Series, and set the donut hole size to 70%. Then right-click again, select Edit Data, and set the values to 25 and 75. Let's quickly rename the charts in the selection pane and organize them for easier management. I'll name them based on my fake Groom Tech products, with Beard Oil as the outermost chart, Beard Moisturizer as the second chart, Grooming Bag as the third, and Styling Balm as the innermost. The next step is to enhance each pie chart with gradient colors to make them visually pop. Start by hiding the 3 larger pies by clicking the eye icon in the selection pane, leaving only the smallest one visible. Select the smallest pie chart, right-click, and choose Format Data Series. Under Fill, select Gradient Fill. Here, we can play around with the colors to get the perfect gradient effect. For those thinking about using the Format Painter to speed up the process, unfortunately, it won't work on charts. That means each gradient must be applied manually. You'll notice there are 3 gradient stops in the Format Shape panel. Click on each stop and under Color, manually select the shades you want to use. The colors you choose don't have to match mine exactly. If you want to replicate my style, you can reference slide 2 and pick the colors from the template. What's more important is that you experiment with gradient fills and get a feel for how they transition and blend. Try adjusting the positioning of the gradient stops, tweaking the transparency, or playing with different color combinations. Just have fun with it. Keep adjusting until you find something that visually pops and fits your style. Once you're happy with your gradient colors, let's move forward. Create a new slide. On the new slide, head to the Insert tab, go to Charts, and select Line Chart. Just like before, an Excel sheet will appear. This time, I'm choosing to add 4 columns and 4 rows for the years 2021 to 2024. In all honesty, the names of the products you choose to add, the number of years, or even the specific years don't really matter. It's all arbitrary. What's important is that you familiarize yourself with working with data in PowerPoint's built-in Excel editor. Play around with different values to see how they impact the chart. Once you have your data set up, close the Excel window, and let's move on to formatting the chart. Let's start by removing unnecessary elements to clean up the chart. First, click on the chart title, then press Delete to remove it. Next, click on the grid lines inside the chart, then right-click and select Format Grid Lines. In the Formatting pane, under Line, select No Line to remove them. With the Formatting pane still open, click on the numbers on the left Y-axis. Under Text Options, change the color to white to make them more visible against our design. Do the same for the years on the X-axis and the product names in the legend. Change them all to white. Let's refine the individual lines to make the chart look smoother and more polished. Click on one of the lines in the chart to select it. Then, in the Formatting pane, under Series Options, check the box labeled Smoothed Line. Repeat this process for all 4 lines to create a more visually appealing curve. Once you apply the smoothing effect, you might notice that it dips below the X-axis, causing a negative value to appear on the Y-axis. To fix this, click on the Y-axis numbers, right-click and select Format Axis. Under Axis Options, find the minimum value setting and change it to 0. Lastly, we need to adjust the colors of the lines. Click on the legend at the bottom of the chart, then select one of the product names. Right-click the selected line and change the outline color to your preferred shade. Repeat this process for each line. Once all the colors are updated, we can move on to creating the final chart with columns. Create a new slide, but rather than starting from scratch, copy and paste the existing line chart onto the new slide. Once pasted, we'll modify it into a column chart to save time and maintain consistency in formatting. With the chart selected, click on the Chart Design tab, then select Change Chart Type. From the list of chart options, choose Column, then select Clustered Columns. This will transform the line chart into a column chart while keeping the existing data structure intact. However, we can easily modify the data by right-clicking on one of the columns and selecting Edit Data. This makes a great template for reusable monthly or weekly updates, especially if you frequently present product or team performance numbers. Since the data is linked to an embedded Excel sheet, you can simply update the values without having to redesign the entire chart every time. This approach ensures consistency while saving time on formatting and layout adjustments. But if you change the chart type, like we just did, you might also need to adjust the colors to ensure clarity and visual appeal. There's one last thing I want to showcase on slide 1. This is just to demonstrate the difference between holding Shift while resizing and using Control plus Shift together. If you hold Shift while resizing, the object maintains its proportions, but it moves freely on the slide. If you hold Control plus Shift, the object not only maintains its proportions, but also resizes from the center, keeping everything aligned perfectly. In the next session, we'll be adding animations to the 3 charts to make the data more dynamic and engaging. For this part, you'll need to download the PowerPoint file from the provided materials, as I've already added some toggle buttons that will help us control the visibility of the charts. I'll explain how everything works in the next session, so make sure to have the file ready. See you there.